If you think snow is harmless, let me tell you about the winter of 2023, when my neighbor Gary and I turned a quiet suburban street into a battleground over snow piles. It all started after the season's first big snowfall, over a foot overnight. I was up early, clearing my driveway, trying to stay ahead of the day. Gary, my neighbor and self-appointed mayor of Maple Lane, came strutting out in his oversized parka like he was ready for a photo op. "Chad!" he hollered. "Yes, my name is Chad. Trust me, it's better than it sounds. You can't pile your snow there?" I paused mid-shovel, looked at the small mound I'd created on the edge of my driveway, and frowned. "It's on my property, Gary. Where else should I put it?" He jabbed his mitten-covered hand toward the pile, as if it were a hazardous waste zone. "It drifts into my yard. Last year I had to deal with all your runoff turning my driveway into an ice rink. It's inconsiderate." "Gary, it's snow," I said, trying not to roll my eyes. "It drifts. That's what it does. I don't control the wind." "Well, you can control where you pile it," he snapped, with all the self-importance of someone who's never been wrong. "Keep it away from my yard." Now I could have let it go, but Gary's tone, smug and demanding, lit a spark in me. If he wanted the snow kept away, I'd make sure it stayed far away. "Sure, Gary," I said, smirking. "You won't have to worry about my snow again." The next morning, while Gary was still cozy in his slippers, I got to work. I cleared my driveway like usual, but instead of pushing the snow into small piles, I built a wall, a 6-foot-tall, perfectly packed snow wall, running the entire length of the property line. It didn't cross into his yard, not by a millimeter, but it loomed close enough to cast a shadow. Gary came out an hour later, holding his coffee mug. When he saw it, he froze. What is this, Chad?" "It's my snow," I said cheerfully. "On my property. You asked me to keep it away from your yard, so I did." "You're kidding," he sputtered. "Nope. Problem solved, right?" He muttered something about childish behavior and stormed back inside. I could see it in his eyes. Gary wasn't going to let this go. Sure enough, that night, he retaliated. When I opened my door the next morning, I found my driveway buried under what could only be described as an avalanche. He'd clearly dragged in snow from his yard and probably the neighbors to make his point. In the center of the chaos stood a plastic garden gnome with a sign tied around its neck, "Property of Gareland. Trespassers will be shoveled." I had to admit the man had flair, but I wasn't about to let him have the last laugh. I spent the whole day clearing my driveway again, and this time I turned the snow into a monument. Right in the middle of his front yard, I built a life-sized igloo. Inside, I placed a camping chair, a thermos of hot cocoa, and a Bluetooth speaker blasting Ice Ice Baby on loop. Gary came out, took one look, and bellowed, "Oh, it's on now." What followed was a week of escalating snow-based antics. Gary rented a snowblower the size of a golf cart and used it to build a 10-foot tower of snow in his yard, complete with a flagpole flying an old beach towel that said, "Victory or bust." I retaliated by carving a snow dragon on my lawn, its icy claws reaching toward his precious tower. By this point, the entire neighborhood was involved. Kids were sledding down Gary's snow tower, someone brought popcorn to watch the chaos, and one neighbor even set up a betting pool. It all came to a head when the HOA got involved. They slapped us both with fines and threatened to confiscate our snow-clearing equipment if we didn't clean up the mess immediately. Gary and I grudgingly complied, though we didn't speak a word to each other during the cleanup. But now, every time it snows, Gary and I exchange a glance. It's a look that says, round 2 is only a storm away, and honestly, my snow wall blueprints are already on standby.
Gary's pride is wounded. Will he retaliate with an even more extravagant snow fortress, calling in the entire neighborhood for backup? Or will Chad, fueled by petty brilliance, take things to a whole new level with a towering, multi-layered snow sculpture that could win awards? Maybe, just maybe, the HOA will step in and fine them both for excessive snow displays, putting an end to this ridiculous feud. But then again, maybe Gary and Chad will escalate even further, turning the street into a battleground of epic winter proportions. What do you think will happen next? Who's got the better move in this chilly rivalry? Drop a comment below with your prediction. Will it be Gary's ultimate snow revenge or Chad's next masterpiece?